Welcome to the Holy Spirit's Curriculum of Joy podcast. My name is Wanaka Oberhuber, and I am your host. Today, my guest is Meche Barba. Welcome.
Thank you, Wanako, for the invitation to participate to your podcast today.
Yeah, thank you for coming. And today, this recording is live. We have other people here too who can, when the time comes, ask questions and comment. So, Meche, I would like to start by asking you, because I asked you here when you answered a question that I asked about, do you feel loved from within? And you answered clearly that you do. And so I'd like to go into how you got to that.
Thank you so much, Wanaka, for your question. My journey has been a journey in different steps, and I think it all started at a very young age by discovering that it was quite the opposite. I started by feeling what was a lack of love from within. So once this awareness at a very young age came to my mind, then I started that journey to acquire this peace, this mindfulness, this to be in the right path. In other words, to be in the right path, for me to be able to arrive to this feeling of love from within. So in those steps that I had to go through, I think one of the main ones was when my third son. I have three kids, by the way. So when my third son was born, he was born premature, and I was at the hospital all alone with the baby. Nobody could come into the ICU, and the only person that was always there was my father. So when you talk about love from within, you know that you are able to give and you are able to receive. That love from within that came from my father's heart, it reflected into mine. And then this light sparked inside myself, even though I think I was already feeling that, but the intensity of these moments that I shared with him was what actually confirmed that I was experiencing this without limits, and that was coming from really from within myself.
Wow, that's so beautiful. So it was when your third son came into a body, and you were there with your father, you said.
Exactly, exactly. I think every single time that I was giving birth to one of my babies, it was a special moment. And I think all women that have kids, eh, not only exclusively to women, it's also to men, because it's such a feeling that you cannot even describe, the joy, the pure love that you feel inside. But under the challenging circumstances that we have to face sometimes in life, then you realize that this pure joy and pure love is something that comes from very deep down inside, and you also are able to identify those people that are willing to provide you with that love from within them. And this is also the unconditional love.
Yeah, I can relate to the great joy when holding one's child in one's arms, or yes, because I'm also a father, so I understand this deep, deep, deep joy.
Yes, and let me tell you something else from a more of a spiritual sense. Um, I believe that you can also find it in the way that people look at you. It's in their eyes. Everything that comes from your heart, you reflect it in the way you look at the others. That sense of pure love that comes from within yourself, you are going to express it in your eyes. The way you look at the others, the way you express that love, that infinite love without judgment, that pure and sincere feeling.
Yeah, very, very well put. And one, you were speaking about giving and receiving, and in A Course in Miracles it says giving is receiving. What do you say to that?
I totally agree with it because, in many ways, I would say that when you are giving, you are also receiving from the other the satisfaction that he gets, or the joy, the happiness that he gets from that gift or that gesture or that moment of joy, love, all kinds of feelings that you can get from this interaction between two people or more people, right? So, yes, I am convinced that you receive and you give at the same time. It's an equal transaction, to put it in a certain way, because if you are only giving, then there is a misconception because it's not balanced, and you cannot keep on giving and giving and giving and giving, because uh, what you are going to perceive is that you are exhausting your resources, not not in a physical sense, but also from inside yourself. So that appreciation from the other is something that is the perfect way of returning the gift or the gesture, or like I was telling you, whatever the form you wish to show the love to the other.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I think that A Course in Miracles is saying that there is an inexhaustible source of love within us that we can give from always.
Yes, I agree with that. We have to differentiate two things. Um, as humans, we are always asking, or not really asking, let me rephrase that. We are always expecting to have something in return. And this is in a very unconscious way, I would say. But the love that we have inside, yeah, it's a never ending source that we have inside. That is true, but to arrive to the point where you are not expecting anything from the other, I would say that not too many people come to that, I would say, to that stage in life. You have to be very advanced. You can. I was actually talking to one of my friends last night about this pure love. And what he was telling me is that when you arrive to this pure love is because you are arriving to a point of tolerance. And this point of tolerance lets you understand that you have to accept the other unconditionally, which is a way of demonstrating the pure love. But in another way of looking at things, and that was part of my discussion as well, is that it might sound egoistic, but I don't think it is that much, but it's also human nature. We are constantly seeking for something back. And this is maybe contradictory because pure love should be generous enough not to ask anything in return. I don't think, going back to the story of my father, that he was asking anything in return. He was a very advanced uh, and a spiritual person. Not that he was doing meditation every single day, anything like that, but he was well advanced, well ahead of for the time that he lived in, and he was able to give that unconditional love without asking anything. That I know because I witnessed it. If you ask me about the love that I can express or I can give to my family, to my dearest friends, to my kids, yes, it is unlimited. But there might be some occasions with some other people, some other interactions, that it won't be that free without expecting anything. So you have both sides of the coin, sort of, in life. You cannot tell, or maybe I wouldn't. I would restrain myself from saying that I give and give and give, and everything is going to be not for free, but I'm not expecting anything from the others. You can be very well advanced, but you will surprise yourself by finding out that this is partially attainable.
Yeah, very beautiful. And you might like to tell us a little bit about how you've come into situations where you've developed this experience of loving yourself from within or feeling loved from within, how you got there when so many things have happened in your life, and how that deepened and how that has been continuing to deepen as you go, and maybe some examples of how we could get there as well.
Okay. I started. Uh, I started my questioning inside myself at a very young age. And the more I was questioning, the more I was searching for answers. And I think that there are several things, several sort of rituals that you can practice in order for you to know that you are in the right path in some way. So just give me a moment, because I actually took some notes, and I would like to tell you what I was also reading about that. So uh, when we are talking about the path that we are going through, and although it's completely different for each one of us, the love from within and the unconditional love is actually something that it's not just a feeling, it's the way you act, and it's in the small things. Like, for example, if you know that in your case, Wanako, your wife loves, let's say, black tulips, to put an example. In the spring you have the black tulips, and you know that there is this place that you have to take your car, and you have to drive 20 minutes to this small town, and you go to this garden center. You go and get those tulips. So this is such a way of expressing your love to your wife, because you know that she will be very happy, and that makes you happy as well, because this is showing how much you care for that person. For your kids, when they are asking you, "Daddy, Daddy, do you think we could go and play soccer or play basketball in the field?" And you just came back from work, you are exhausted, and the least that you want is to go with them. But you, with a very big smile, you tell them, "You know what? I am very tired, but this is a very good idea. I had a rough day at work, but the most important thing is that we will enjoy this time together." And you go with them and you play with them. So, this is such an act of love that you are expressing towards the others, that this is mostly what I have done also in my past. Like, for example, going to my mom, and she doesn't live here in Canada. She lives in Ecuador. I come from Ecuador, by the way. So when I was there, when I was in Ecuador, I would go to see her, and I know that she likes some Colombian pastries, and I would go for a walk with her, and I would bring her to this small coffee shop for her to eat that, and with a nice cup of hot chocolate. That's what she likes, and that's what I love doing for her. So they are small acts of kindness in your everyday life that will bring you to expressing this unconditional love. When you discover that those small details in your life, when they are being done repeatedly, and they are filling your heart with joy, I think you are in the right path. Because sometimes, or most of the times, I think you can take it for granted, but it's not like that. It's the happiness of giving and the happiness of receiving back that smile, and that joy from the others. Something else that I was also reading and also analyzing about um, about my personal experience is how you have to adapt yourself, adapt your love to the others. As time goes by, we are in a never ending change in our lives. We go through so many different steps. When your parents are young, they have a lot of energy, they give you a lot of things. You can enjoy many different moments, but uh, when they are older, when they are elderly, they become elderly, then you have to adapt yourself. And it's a love with understanding, with without judging them, acknowledging the changes that they have gone through in all those years, from being totally aware of things to depending from you in many ways, from preparing them meals, from bringing them to the pharmacy, from going with them to the supermarket, visiting their friends together, things like that, you see. So you give that unconditional love, and at the same time you are adapting yourself to this very changing and very challenging circumstances at times. Many of us, we are sure, I'm sure that we have gone through periods of time that are not easy. My mother, she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and first of all, you don't want to accept that, because this means that she is going older and her time is ticking. So, all this sadness, you have to accept it within yourself. And you have to, once again, adapt yourself to love your father, your mother, the way they are now. So those are some of the things that I've gone through in my life, and at the same time, we have to love ourselves unconditionally, and we have to know that we have gone through so many different changes, so many different situations in life, and some of them we were able to control the result, and some other ones we didn't. And in those situations and those occasions when we were not able to control that, we also have to learn on how to forgive ourselves and let go of all those bad experiences, for example. So, this is also unconditional love, but it's towards yourself. It's accepting that you did wrong, or that this experience was not what you were expecting. And you have to accept that you are perfectly imperfect in life. So, this is something that I wanted to share. And talking about forgiveness, it's also forgiveness towards the others, towards some people that did you wrong. Sometimes it's very intentionally, and some other times they don't even know that they did it to you. So you have to also learn forgiveness. You have to show love, and you have to understand that the others might not be at the same level of understanding and awareness where you are at a certain point in your life.
Thank you for explaining that so vividly.
Thank you very much.
I would like to bring another thought from A Course in Miracles and see what you have to say.
Sure.
You cannot change the world, but you can change your mind about it.
Exactly. Okay. There are two different things. Um, the world starts to change once your perspective changes. There is a story about a house in the middle of the forest that was an abandoned house. So there was this tiny little dog that went inside, and he started seeing some dogs, and he was surrounded by dogs. And those dogs, they were showing their teeth to this poor little thing, and he was afraid. And everybody was around him, was very aggressive, in fact. So he was afraid, and he just ran away. After, another dog came inside, and he saw that he was surrounded by many different dogs, and they were all smiling at him. That house was full of mirrors. So once you understand that the world is a reflection of what you have inside, you will start changing the way you are going to look at it. And then the changes begin. Everything is going to be easier. You will find the right persons. You will find the right places. It's like everything is falling into the right place. The world is changing, of course, because we cannot stop the time, the linear time as we know it. But it's your perspective and your way of looking at the world that is in a permanent change. And once you realize that it depends on you, your life changes for the best.
Wow, I love that explanation. Really good. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. So changing one's mind about the world changes everything for you, and that's the most beautiful thing you can experience, right? And that's this, and the thing, A Course in Miracles says that we already are love. So it's actually removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence. And you're speaking of this presence of love within. I would like to go a little bit deeper into that. Love's presence. How do you, what do you do in order to allow these blocks to be removed? You already explained some of the things that you do. Do you have some other ways you do it, or?
Okay, let me tell you another one of my stories. I have many stories, and when I decided to come to Canada, well, we came with my family, almost all my family. So I came in the middle of the winter in 2008. The winter here in Canada is very harsh. So when I came, I was constantly comparing everything, and I was always longing for that warmth in my home country, the sun, and how do you call it, the food, the sun, the family, the gatherings, the coffee, the bread, everything. So one of the uh, one of the worst parts was that I was in a depression because I was not accepting that I had to live here. Many months after, that was in January when I arrived. Back in September of that same year, I went back home. And what I noticed is something that really shocked me. Before leaving, I was part of the life of the others. I was part of this environment. I was part of the family. When I came back, I realized that they were all telling me all kinds of stories, but I was not there anymore. So when you realize that your time in a certain place or under certain circumstances was over, the universe will send you the right signals, the right teachers that will show you that this experience in your life is over. I don't know if I was diverting from your question. I don't even know. Okay, I don't even know why I went into that. Uh, but okay, to finish my story is that actually you have to realize that everything that comes to you, even if you have to go somewhere else, even if you lose your job, everything happens for a reason and it's always for the best. Why? Because the next step that you, or the step that you are beginning or starting in your life, or the new challenge that you are starting in your life, is going to bring you forward. You never go backwards. So I would say that you have to, in this process of awareness, and how did I realize that I had to sort of let go of things that were no longer valid in my life. It was not the most comfortable feeling, but I had to acknowledge that. Once again, I'm sorry for repeating myself, and I had to let it go. And when I came back, I realized that what I was missing is planting my trees in my new home. And since then, I've been happy living here. So that's another one of my stories, Wanako.
Yeah, I like it. It illustrates how you realized that there was a block to the awareness of love's presence, and that you were able to change your view. You changed your mind about it, and then you discovered what you could experience instead, right?
Exactly, exactly. That's the magic, because every single time that you identify a block in your life, it means that you have to make a switch in your mind, and then the blocks, they are no longer there. Like, for example, when you arrive into a certain age, let's say you are in your 40s or 50s, and you have that idea that um, you cannot let's say practice some sports, because you think that your body is not good enough, or strong enough, not good enough, no, not strong enough anymore. And this is a blockage. This is absolutely a blockage. If you put yourself into the right mindset, then you will discover how strong you are within. It's going to be painful, because getting rid of your blockages, of course, it is. But then you will push yourself. And the moment you make that decision that you want to have or do or be somebody or something different, then you are lifting your blockages as well. Maybe some of them will take some more time, some other ones, they will be more difficult. But in reality, it's all inside yourself. It's your mindset and it's your beliefs.
Yeah, becoming aware of who we are, which is pure love, is really a beautiful process. The way you're describing it, wonderful.
Yes, in fact, this is a very beautiful process, because we have to learn so many things all throughout our lives, and we have to share our bad experience and our good ones as well. The bad experiences, for the others to realize that if they are going through similar experiences as well, they will be able to overcome them. And for those happy moments, you know that you will have many more to come in your life as well.
Yeah, beautiful. Now, I think we'll shift in our subject a little bit and go into your writing. You you told me in advance that you have a way of writing where it comes from within as well, from this place within you that is the presence of love, right?
Exactly. I have experienced, okay, my writing, let me explain you something. I didn't write a full book yet. It's in my plans, and I have been working on some steps towards this book. But the most interesting part about writing is, for me at least, is that I have been writing sometimes some short stories or some essays. Sometimes it's also for my classes at the university, where I have to do a lot of analysis and things like that. But when I go into this writing process, then I discover myself immersed into a therapeutical process. Why? Because every single time that I take a piece of paper and a pen, it's as if I am channeling some pieces of wisdom from my higher self or any higher realm that you might want to describe it or name it. And it's also a way for me to express what's deep down inside, what is blocking me. And when it's in paper, it's no longer within yourself. So it's part of a healing process, and it's a wonderful, wonderful way for you to be able to get rid of some traumatic experiences in life, some blockages. Once again, the blockages that we were talking about some seconds ago. It all goes with the writing. It's extremely, extremely therapeutical for me.
How about the solutions coming up in the writing?
Oh, they are always wonderful. Let me tell you that the inspiration that comes from the source uh, through channeling this guidance is so powerful that I would say that the things that we have to keep always in mind that are very important are the time that you are going to dedicate yourself, uh, and also the willingness for you to receive those answers. So when when um, when I am writing, I find those solutions after. And it's really curious because many times it's in automatic. It's as if somebody is telling me what to put in that piece of paper. And I don't even realize the words that are coming through me, to me. And then when I finish that process of writing, then I'm going to read it, and I will fully understand and find the clues to a possible solution to a certain problem. So it's really magical.
Yes, that's beautiful. And I think that's one of the powers of writing is that you can ask anything and you will receive.
Exactly. Exactly. You can ask away and you will receive what you are in need of. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, that's what I feel. That's part of the power of writing, and the power of writing that is shared with others includes that.
Yeah, exactly.
So sometimes one is motivated to ask a question for everyone, and that's the beauty, that you get an answer that is helpful.
Yes. It's not only for yourself. Sometimes you don't really know. Uh, you don't really know how somebody. Let's say, for example, you have somebody in the family that is going through challenging times, health issues or things like that, and then you start writing, but this writing becomes a prayer that comes from your heart, and it's with the certainty that you will receive that guidance for you to be able to help that other person, or for the other person to improve with her health, and become um, I don't know, get rid of any kind of problem that she or he might have. Sometimes when you are writing, you will also find or cross new persons in your path. It's as if you are attracting everything and everyone that is going to contribute to this solution, to these health issues, or to these financial burdens, um, all kinds of things. In my experience, let me tell you something else. One of my daughters, the second one, she has gone through many things health wise in the past few months, and she's been on and off from the hospital, and the doctors don't really know what she is having as a health issue. So I was talking to one of my cousins who lives in France, and this is not exactly about writing, but about how everything is timed in the universe, and you can call upon the source, and the source is going to send you the right persons and the right tools. So anyways, I was talking to my cousin, and I told her, listen, this and this and that is going on, and we were chatting and catching up after I don't know how many weeks. So she tells me, listen, there is this lady that I know, she's taking care of my mother, and blah, blah, blah. To make a long story short, my daughter, she was like I was telling you, not feeling well at all. She was with migraines 24/7. It was a complete disaster. And after talking to a lady, that this lady sent me the connection, or the contact to, she started doing some healing. And it was not only healing for my daughter, but for my family as well. That was, I think, on Sunday, and on Monday she went to see the doctor again. The doctor gave her some pills. It was like magic, Wanako. So when we are talking about channeling and about guidance from the source, it's through every single way possible. It's about writing, about communicating, about expressing yourself, about being confident that whatever you need, you will have the solution coming to you. And sometimes those things are a blessing in disguise, but they work. At the end, everything works.
Wow, very beautiful. And I can say in A Course in Miracles, it also says the outcome is certain. So that sounds a lot like that.
Exactly. Exactly. The outcome is certain. You just have to keep your faith. Once your faith is all really deeply enrooted within yourself, in your heart, then you always hope for the best, and that's what you get.
So I'll open the forum for a question of the participants here. Does anyone have a question? Okay,
Yes,
then
I had a
do.
question. Thank you, Meche. Very interesting listening to you. So, just did you? Was it really the hospital experience with your father, with your son? Was that the first time you actually sensed the love from within, or had you sort of also felt it earlier before that?
Oh, thank you so much for your question. Listen, I think it was the strongest one because I already had another sign, and that was from coming from my father as well, and it was through my divorce from my first husband, and it was the same experience: unconditional love and no judgment, nothing, just being there, presence. And this was like the first chapter. And then when my son was born, that was really really enlightening for me. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that was the real point of departure, because the first one was like the appetizer in
Hmm.
a way.
Yes,
Yes.
I like that. Excellent. Thank you.
Does anyone else have a question?
Well, another one. If I'll go for the second. If that's okay, and then I'll let somebody else speak. Oh, Elena, do you want to speak? Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I can wait. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll just my second one, and then I'll let Elena speak. Was just you were saying about the giving and giving, and I was sort of quite interested in that because I can very much relate to that side of things in terms of that sort of difficult balance between giving and never expecting anything in return versus kind of that feeling of you kind of feel like you're taken advantage of, or it's a one-way street or whatever. And I just wondered how you managed to square that circle with yourself. How have you managed to get yourself to a place where you're not giving and giving and exhausting yourself in the process? How do you balance that, or do you just keep on giving and not think about it, and it just kind of all works out fine? I just be interested to know a little bit more about how you've managed to kind of deal with that.
Okay. Let me tell you that there are two different, well, clearly two different things. Um, when we are when we are expecting something in return, is okay. No, I will start from another sort of another chapter in my life. That recent chapter about my daughter not feeling well. um, you are always there when you know that the other needs you, and it doesn't matter how many hours, how many days, how many months even this person is going to need you. And sometimes even respecting that other person, uh, not wanting you right beside her, this is something that you clearly need to understand, that you are giving from the bottom of your heart and you are not expecting anything. It's like this bond between two persons that love themselves so much that you don't ask for anything in return. I
Mhm.
don't really know if I would be, if there will be a time when I'm gonna be at the hospital and she's gonna be there, or maybe she's not gonna be there. I don't really know, and I don't really care. But the
Mhm.
most important thing for me was to be there for her, to uh, let her know with words and without words that she could count on me unconditionally. So this is something that I am not going to put a limit into it. Why? Because this is my love as a mother, and
Yeah.
this is unlimited. Especially when one of my kids is going through rough patches. Same
Mhm.
thing with my other two kids. It was exactly the same thing with my little son being in ICU, and he almost died and whatever. I'm not going to tell him, oh, listen, I was there for you. Now you have to come and go to the supermarket and do the groceries for me. No, it doesn't work that way. So, in those circumstances that are um, extreme, sort of, that you know that the other person needs you, but probably there is no way for you to have anything back, but just only knowing that the support that you are giving is enough for you to contain them in your arms, either physically or emotionally, is enough. And then the other one, how to set limits. I had at a certain point in my life, some time ago, I was going out with somebody, and I am the kind of a person who's usually very generous, and I give a lot of details and time, and I'm always there for everyone. So your question touched me so much, because I in that particular time of my life, I discovered that what I was doing is trying to convince the other that was I was good enough for him to keep me in his life, and for him to appreciate what I was and what I could give to that relationship and to that person, and not only to that person, to the whole family. Because when you are in a relationship, it's not the only it's not just the Pepito Perez, as we say in Spanish, but it's the whole gang that comes with it. But
Yeah.
then again, you realize that you have to put a limit, because when the other person is becoming like a sort of a vampire, not intentionally, but he knows that you have such a nice vibe, you're full of energy, you're all chattery, and you're all joy and happiness, that you will have to put a limit to that. Because if you don't stop, and you don't become aware of the fact that the exchange, in that case, it's a real exchange, is not at par, then you will be exhausted, and you will be all sad and unhappy, and you will wonder why life is so unfair with you. But everything comes from within. Once you start observing everything and everyone around you, you will be more uh, at ease to put limits with people, and at some circumstances where you know that it's no longer valid to keep on giving, because you also need to fulfill your needs.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my way of looking at things.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. No, I totally get that. I mean, yeah, as a father, I totally, with your children, it's a very different kind of situation, obviously, because you're just going to have total unconditional, no limits on what you'll do there. Although I guess at some point there might need to be some boundaries in some other areas. But then what you're talking about in your relationship, yeah, totally, I can relate to that in terms of when you get into a situation where you're kind of trying to win approval or whatever in terms of the constant giving. And yeah, that's really helpful. So yeah, thank you for your answer there. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Exactly, Richard. And something else that you have to understand is that sometimes there are some hidden signs of things that you have to work with yourself, like some low self-esteem, for example,
Hmm.
and you are not really aware of that, and sometimes you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, oh my goodness, it was that. It's because when I was a child, this and this and that, my mother was asking me to do this, otherwise she was not going to be happy,
Yeah.
and I was not going to be the perfect child that she was expecting me to be. And this is so deeply enrooted that when we are adults, sometimes we cannot track back to the childhood because it was traumatic, or God only knows the reason why. So it's an introspection. When you are comfortable with doing an introspection with yourself, you will discover all those things,
Yeah.
and it will be easier for you to set limits.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. That's very very thoughtful answer. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Um, I was a little bit late to this podcast, but I just want to tell appreciation for. It's just so amazing to listen your stories and to listen what you describe, and your wiseness and everything, and with so love and so love energy. It's so amazing. I just want to say that I can listen for just for many hours. Maybe um maybe you can give another short story. I just so like to listen your stories.
Thank you very much, Elena. You are very generous. Actually, yeah, I have so many stories. And I have to laugh because every single time that I start with my stories, it's like a never ending. But yeah, I would say one of those touching stories, it's okay, it's related to my dad, and it's also related to my best friend, one of my best friends. Um, 7 years ago, we received, it was May actually, and we received a call from my mom telling us that my dad was in the hospital, and and but he was back home and he was okay. And there was this hunch inside myself, and I talked to my kids and I told them, listen, we have to pack our things. I will talk to my boss, and we will head back home because we need to go and see my dad. It's going to be the last time that we will see him alive. And it was like that. Anyways, we arrived, my son and I, we arrived in June, and my daughter, she went the week after receiving that call. And we spent the whole summer together. When when my son had to come back for school because it was at the end of August, we decided to book our plane ticket back to Canada. And when I was leaving for the airport, um, in one of the things from the podcast that I don't really know, Elena, if you listened to it, was when I was uh, talking about the fact that you can see the unconditional love, that love from within, in the eyes of the people. And it's so curious because that love from within and that unconditional love that my father felt for his kids and his wife and for everybody else, uh, I could see that intense love in his eyes when I was saying goodbye and going to the airport to come back with my son to Canada. And I knew for sure that this was going to be the last time that I was going to see him alive. That was the 31st of August. And we arrived here in Montreal on the 1st of September. Exactly 2 weeks after, he entered the emergency room at the hospital, at one of the hospitals, and the day after he was gone. Before him passing away, my two daughters were at the hospital with him, and I told them to speak to him in the ear and tell him that he could live in peace because I was going to take care of my mom, which has been a crazy story as well, but that was my promise. And about a half an hour later, the phone rang and my father was gone. But before the phone ringing, I could feel him coming and giving me a very, very loving hug. And right after that, the phone was ringing. So when we are talking about unconditional love and love from within, believe me when I'm saying that it lasts even when we have crossed to the other side. So yeah, that's my experience, and a similar experience with my best friend, and looking into her eyes, and I was the last person to see her alive. And she had a heart attack, and we found her 2 days after in her apartment. But I could I had that feeling that it was going to be the last time, and her eyes were expressing so much in that last time that we looked at each other, that I think that this is also a blessing, recognizing the love in the others and recognizing how important we are to them as well.
Wow, it's a very beautiful story. I can relate to that because I had such connection with dying friend, and I was receiving from her so love. And yeah, it was just amazing. I really understanding what you're talking. So beautiful story. Thank you very much.
Thanks to you too for letting me tell you my story. Thank you, Elena.
I have a question.
Thank you.
You speak with such certainty, of love and understanding, and um, I wonder how you got to that place. Did you just know, were you always like this, or what was the thing that shifted you to such certainty? Because I feel that at times, but then the world or other people make me question that, and or I feel hesitant to really say that loving comment out loud. I just if, with you it seems so genuine, and I wonder when you got to that place.
Thank you so much, Julie, for your question. Listen, I think it's an ongoing process, and there comes a certain moment in your life when you just express yourself, and it doesn't matter what the others say or what the others think. There are sometimes I can describe this process as bouncing back and forth between realms. uh, and when we are in this earth, I think it's very challenging. Sometimes we have to face so many difficult challenges, and that is only being put to us. It comes to us for us to become stronger, and sometimes to uh, uh, we tend to uh, feel guilty or have that guilt trip for some behaviors, or because we didn't stop some other people from being nasty with us. But the thing is that we have to understand that every single person that comes into our lives is showing us something, and we really have to learn from them. It's not that I was always like that. Believe me that I was, oh my goodness, I was fire. when I was when I was young, um, I was always asking myself, why did I uh, have to be part of this family that had so many problems. My mother, she was, she was very difficult. My father, he was not stopping her from sort of being very cruel at times with my brother and I. But then I understood that that was the only thing that she knew. She came from a family with a lot of challenges, and my grandma was a widow, and she had three kids to feed, and she didn't know anything to do or how to do it, and those were challenging times. So when you look back, and when I was talking about the introspection earlier on, it's it's through this introspection that I think we gain awareness and we understand the other's paths, and we also um, need to put limits, because it doesn't mean that you are going to be nice and you are going to feel love from within or deep down inside, this unconditional love, that you are going to cross all kinds of people that are going to be like that. So you have to protect yourself at the same time. When you learn how to protect yourself, and how to stop the others, not in a rude way, in a nasty way, but in a necessary way, because you are taking care of yourself, you are taking care of your well-being, and you are protecting yourself from any harm that somebody is intended to do to you. So yeah, my path has been long, and it has been not very easy, but at the same time, I think this is the path that I also chose, because I believe before reincarnating, we have a list of things that we will need to accomplish. And that's why we choose our parents and our family and all kinds of things like that. So it's an ongoing process, and sometimes it's more difficult even for me. Sometimes I want to choke people and I would be very happy to do it, but I refrain myself from doing it. But it doesn't mean that I'm not human, but I am more aware of a lot of things, and I can certainly know when somebody is doing it out of hatred or out of fear, or when somebody is not really aware of what he or she is doing, and that might cause me harm. So by observing people and by knowing that we are not the same and respecting the other's paths, I think that is what I would say are some of my tools that I find them useful. Yeah.
No, thank you. I really liked what you said about um, having to protect ourselves. Setting limits with people, because even with people who we really love and care about and have good relationships with, we still need to set limits, because otherwise we start getting our lives blurred in with their lives and get off our own track. So that was really helpful for me to see. I in my own life, I have adult children, and I have a very loving home. I worked really hard, to have a really loving home, but now it's so loving that they don't want to go away and move out on their own. And that's a problem for me now, because, I realize I'm part of the problem, that it's in protecting myself and setting appropriate limits that could have movement, but if I just keep doing what I'm doing, there's nothing that's going to change. Nobody will know I'm unhappy with it.
Yeah, and actually, when you have kids that are not moving out, it's because in a very unconscious way, you are keeping them with you. In the surface, you are saying, "Yeah, I want them to move out," but maybe there is some kind of fear that you are not aware of that is keeping you from releasing them.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I'm really trying to work on that. And we've lived here many, many years, and I've just started the process of letting go of all of, trying to get rid of stuff, so that I don't feel, like I don't need this big house. The only reason I have this big house is because they're all living with me. And so I feel like I'm trying to work through some of my resistance, even in just letting go of the stuff, so that I can feel freer. And it's not easy for me. Not only do I not save time to do it effectively, but then I look at things and I don't want to get rid of them. So yes, I think you're exactly right.
Yeah, and you know what? Let me tell you that I've been there and done that as well. So it will come to you. Yeah.
I'm going to come with another thought from A Course in Miracles. In defenselessness, my safety lies.
Okay. um, when when you are defending yourself from others, and this is okay, there are two different ways of looking at this from my point of view. You either defend yourself from an enemy that you think you have, and then you are safe, or there is somebody that is abruptly coming to you, and then you defend yourself, and then you are safe. But I would say that I would like to go back to the example of the two different dogs. Remember the dogs in the house full of mirrors. So when
Yes.
you defend yourself from something or from somebody, it's because there is something within yourself that you have to work on. And I think that part on the Curse of Miracles is talking about this specific subject. It's going within yourself and seeing what is causing you to see in the outer world, uh, and project that enemy in the outer world for you to have to defend yourself. So it all comes from within, not in 100% of the cases, because if I don't know, if there is somebody that is going to I don't know, come and commit a robbery and then hit you with a gun, I wouldn't like to say, yeah, I provoked it, and the gun was, or the bullet was for me because I generated that. I wouldn't like to accept that. But on some more milder circumstances, I would say that yes, it's all about going inside yourself, doing that introspection, like I said before, and then finding that specific spot within yourself where there is this projection to the outer world that is causing you to react and defend and create those shields that most likely are not going to benefit you.
Yeah, very powerful lesson to learn, huh? And yeah, very interesting that you make a difference between very, very, um, yeah, what we would call dangerous situations and less dangerous. Um, whereby I think that the defenselessness is speaking about our attitude rather than what we actually do in the situation.
Yes, you are right. But the attitudes come from within. So what you need to do, and going forward in with your thoughts, is that everything comes from within, like I was saying, and then when you generate that introspection and you look inside, then most likely you will find a way to go on. I would like to know what you think about it, Wanako, as well.
About being in how one is defenseless.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot because it's a very important topic in A Course in Miracles.
Yeah.
Because A Course in Miracles is saying that nothing has actually happened to disturb our peace. So to get to that place of not of feeling safe in the midst of whatever is going on, that is something that I feel is very important to me. And I can relate to what you were saying about pure love, because when my grandpa died, he came to me as well afterwards and said, I love you no matter what choices you make. And that was such a huge shift in my perception of everything. So yes, I think that we can have that shift in the in many types of actually in all situations. I just don't know if I am capable of it or not in which situations, right? But it is potentially possible, and I can open up to that.
Yes, yeah, it is potentially possible, uh, but I don't think it's a steady state of being unless you are spiritually very enlightened. Maybe I'm wrong with my perception. I think we are always working towards attaining those steps of enlightenment once we are aware that we are in a path that is bringing us there, and for us to be able to um, sort of refrain ourselves from all those things that could potentially harm us if we react, right? But this is, I would say, a state of sanctity, to say the least. Why? Because we are humans and we won't be able to control every single one of our reactions to those actions all the time. Hopefully, one day we will say, yes, I attained that level of enlightenment. But even for me, it's not even for me. It's not from talking from my ego, no. But I find it challenging. Yes, and we have to work on that every single day, and discover many things that will help us in our journey, right?
Yeah, I like it a lot that you were describing how these solutions come to you in your writing. I think that's really significant that it also comes within the situations, like you were saying, you were calling people, you were organizing things, you got these insights of when to do what, and how that has helped you to go deeper and deeper into this defenselessness, into this being aware of the presence of love within you, loving you always.
Yes, it's like I was telling you before, it's a real therapeutical process because everything is already there. We just have to grab it from our higher self, connecting with our higher self, or connecting with our guides, or connecting to Source, the universe, God, whatever the name you want to give it to it. But yeah, it's all there. It is all there. Uh, we just have to step back and calm down, and not to be involved into these daily critical tasks of survival, because we are actually not in a survival mode anymore. We are more in a spiritual, in a self-realization stage now. So I would say that what was I going to say? I lost my thread of thought. No, what I was going to say is that yeah, you are you are right on what you said, but I would like to add that yeah, it's not a permanent state, but hopefully we will attain it one day.
Yeah, opening up to it, to the option that it can be always there, right? And you've been providing us with a lot of information about how to recognize the presence of love from within in your life and how to live from there. I'm very, very thankful for that. And yeah, before I have some end words, I would like to ask once again if anyone else has a question they want to ask before we finish.
Wanako, if you allow me, because I thought it would be interesting uh, to do sort of a guided meditation. I don't know if it would be something that you guys would like to do. Um, I have a script that is partially adapted from somebody else, and I got some healing music that I could probably play. But this is up to you because maybe it's already uh, late back there, and I wouldn't like uh, to surpass the limits that you already put into place.
Um, let's put it this way: we can't use music from anybody like this, and we will keep it with material that is ours to give, right?
Okay. Yes, I
Because of the
understand.
rights, because of rights.
Yeah,
So,
I
so you
understand.
are welcome to guide us in something if you want, but it needs to be yours, right?
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So I think it would be a good idea for you to end this podcast because, of course, the music is not mine, and I'm not in a position to go against the rules either. Yeah.
Okay. Then I would like to ask you one final thing. How can one reach you if one wants to?
You can reach me on Facebook. You can send me a private message, and then we can go and discuss some topics. You can also send me a message here on Telegram, as you wish. I'm open, and I would be more than happy to hear back from you guys. And if you have any questions or any suggestions, I'm really open to that.
Wonderful. Yeah. Then for everyone listening and those who will listen, please come back to the podcast again and again and give some feedback on the platform so that more people can find it. And you can reach out to me if you want to be able to be here on the live podcast recording so that I can add you. Yeah. So thank you for listening and blessings. Until next time. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Very
Thank
interesting.
you.
Thank you very much. Was
Thank you.
amazing. I
Thank
wish
you very much.
connect with you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks to everyone, and bye.